Hi, welcome back to Mel's Health. I'm Mel, and as always, it's lovely to have you here with me today. I'm back after a little break. It was getting a little bit tiresome sitting down every single week for months on end talking about something wrong with my health, but I had a little break and I'm back, so hi. So going straight into it, I recently answered a question on a Facebook group that someone asked about the kind of pros and cons about being on warfarin for life. They'd just been told that they were going to have to be on blood thinners for life, and they were kind of looking at which one might be the one for them. I've seen a lot of comments online where people are wondering what's the difference between all the medications available and why people choose certain ones over the others. So I thought, why not turn it into a video based on my experience and being on warfarin for life. If you've seen any of my other videos, you might know that I have experienced 2 blood thinning medications. I have been on APIXABAN, aka ELIQUIS, and Warfarin, aka Coumadin. You can check out my previous video all about blood thinners after this. I will link it in the description below. It is a bit of a long one, but because of that, I did leave some prompts on the screen throughout the video where you can click directly to where the story about warfarin starts, and I go into the history of it, how it came about, and it started its life out as rat poison. But I think the history behind it is quite an interesting story. So why am I on warfarin, and why did I stop APIXABAN? So the short answer for me is that I was prescribed APIXABAN from the day of diagnosis, and I took it for 6 months, but unfortunately throughout that time I didn't really notice any improvement. And then my symptoms were confirmed. I had a VQ scan at the 6-month point, and all of my clots were still there in both lungs. At this point, the doctors thought they should look at my family history in a bit more depth, because I had been diagnosed with a protein S deficiency, which is something that my dad also has. Now, he is also prescribed warfarin for life, so they thought, let's switch the prescription over, and then voila. At 3 months later after that, my 9-month mark, I had a CT scan and all of the clots had gone. So that is why warfarin became my prescription for life. I do have videos on all the things I just mentioned in that previous statement, the protein S deficiency, VQ scan, CT scan, and I'll link all of those videos in the description below so that you can find them easily after this if you're interested. So straight in, what are the pros of being on warfarin? Number 1, it is a tried and tested drug that has been around and used for over 60 years now, and it is trusted to do what it is prescribed for. The other readily available blood thinners that are widely used, like APIXABAN, rivaroxaban, Pradaxa, and so on, they're all relatively new when it comes to medicine. They've only been approved for use within like the last 10 years. Now, that's not a sole reason to trust warfarin over these newer medications, but a medicine that's only 10 years old hasn't got the same research and long-term known effects as something that is 60 years old like warfarin, so I'm counting it as a pro. But I also think that my experience with the newer medications has also shaped my view there as well. Number 2, in an emergency situation, medical staff could easily reverse the effects of warfarin using vitamin K. I will also talk about this in the cons section, but vitamin K affects how well warfarin works. Other newer blood thinners, they don't always have these antagonists, so in emergent situations it would be hard to control bleeding until the drug has worked its way out of the system. So let's say I had an accident and had some uncontrollable internal bleeding made much worse because of the prescription that I'm on. They would be able to dose me with vitamin K and reverse the effects of the warfarin so that my body starts coagulating faster. This isn't always possible on other blood thinning medications, and it's especially a pro for me because I don't intend on giving up my hobbies anytime soon, which are mountain biking and skiing. So there is always a possibility of injury there. Number 3. It is a lot cheaper than a lot of the newer medications out there. I know prescriptions work very, very differently depending on where you are in the world. Being English, I never used to have any concerns around prescriptions or anything at all, but if you're in a place in the world like I am now in Canada where you have to pay for prescriptions, even if it's just a portion of the prescription because you have certain coverage, warfarin is a world away from something like APIXABAN. So for example, when I was taking APIXABAN, I collected a prescription for 180 tablets and it was over 350 Canadian dollars. I then collected a prescription for 150 warfarin tablets and the prescription was less than $60 Canadian. I go into a lot more depth about that in my blood thinners video, which I will link below, but as you can see, the difference in cost is utterly astounding. So warfarin is a financial pro. Lastly, number 4, with warfarin, you only have to dose once a day. When I was on APIXABAN, it was twice a day, so you had to remember morning and night. And then there's other blood thinners out there that you have to make sure that you take with food. So there's a lot of other factors to consider when you're going to be taking a medication every day for the rest of your life. Now with Warfarin, I have a daily alarm that goes off on my phone at 8 p.m. every day. And I have my pill organizer, which I have for every day of the week. And then I don't have to worry about taking it with food. It's just very simple, just once a day, every day, nice and easy. Okay, so cons, because there's always a downside. Number 1, INR blood testing. When you're prescribed Warfarin, you have to keep an eye on your INR, which stands for International Normalized Ratio. And it's basically a blood test to see how fast your blood clots. When you're on Warfarin, you'll be given a therapeutic range by your doctor, and you want to be kind of as close to that as possible because that means you are on the correct dose of medication. Most people are given the reading of 2.5 as perfection, but usually anything between the range of 2.0 and 3.0 is considered stable and good. The reason you have to keep on top of this is because a lot of things interact with Warfarin, so it's regularly monitored in case a change of dose is needed. Let's say, for example, that your INR came back one time and it's strangely high for some reason, like over 4. Your doctor's likely going to tell you that you may need to miss a dose or alter your dose, and then they're going to have to test you quite soon afterwards until you become therapeutic again and they know you're on the correct dose. This is the main con when it comes to Warfarin. At the beginning, my experience with Warfarin was that I had to have a weekly blood test for 3 months before I hit the therapeutic range and was kind of becoming stabilized. Now I've been on it for almost 6 months and I've switched to monthly blood tests, and I've stabilized on my dose, which is 10 ml Monday to Friday, 7.5 ml Saturday and Sunday. My doctor said from now on she will just give me a call if my INR ever comes back out of range and we need to actually act on it. But I'm kind of stabilized, and it's just go and get your blood tested once a month and then continue taking your pills every day. So it was a bit of a rocky start. Weekly blood tests do take their toll. Having to change your dose constantly and make sure that you're doing everything correctly does weigh quite heavy at the time. But I have leveled out, and it's at a point where it is easily managed now. It's just something that you do have to realize you're going to have to do regularly for the rest of your life. I'm also going to note before I move on that the readings I was talking about in that example are the recommendations that I got. But there's plenty of people out there who have totally different therapeutic ranges. So what I'm told is not going to be the same for everybody. Your doctor will tell you what is best for you. Okay, last one. Con number 2 is that Warfarin has a lot of interactions that affect the efficacy of the medication, how well that it works, and keeping your INR stable. The most widely known one is vitamin K, which I mentioned previously, and I mentioned it as a pro because in the emergent situation it meant that the effects of Warfarin could be easily reversed. But in everyday life you want to be stable. So having lots of food, drinks, supplements, drugs, etc. that can affect Warfarin is going to make your INR reading change. Now when I say that a lot of things interact with Warfarin, I mean a lot. When I first was prescribed it, I was given an info sheet, and it was like 2 sides of A4 full of all the different things, food, drinks and supplements that will interact with the Warfarin and how well that it works, and it will make your INR go up and down. Like I said, vitamin K is the big one, and if you are a lover of leafy greens like kale and spinach, then by all means eat them, but what you need to do is eat them consistently, meaning the same amounts each day. As Warfarin can be affected by so many things, the key is keeping your diet consistent, what your body is used to. If you introduce something new into your diet, it's likely going to have an effect on how well the meds are working. A lot of people think leafy greens are a complete no-no when you're on this medication, but that is only the case if they don't form any part of your diet and you never usually eat them. Funnily enough, this is true in my case because I am not a vegetable lover at all. You will never catch me eating a salad. I don't like green vegetables like broccoli, Brussels sprouts, spinach, cabbage, kale, anything like that. You will just never see me eating it. And now I've got the best excuse to the fact that I don't ever have to try. So to round this one up, what I'm trying to say is that despite Warfarin having a lot of interactions with foods, drinks and supplements, you don't need to full on avoid things. You just have to keep everything consistent and you'll be fine. And that's my pros and cons of Warfarin. I'll list them in this area as some sort of summary, but as you can see, I actually have more pros than cons, which is nice considering that I'm taking this medication for the rest of my days. I hope this has helped if you are looking into this and unfortunately been told that you too will be taking blood thinning medication for life or a prolonged amount of time. If you have any other questions, then please comment below and I will either try and respond or maybe I'll make a future video on the topic. But please like this video if you learned something today and hit the subscribe button for more content. And I'll see you soon. Bye.